Every gun shop in America has a corner of the case nobody points at. The pistol that has been sitting there since 2 summers ago, price tag rewritten 3 times, still nobody biting. Some of these were bad guns, some were brilliant. All 12 of them turned into money the dealer could not get back. Number 12. The Taurus Curve. Taurus showed it quietly to a handful of writers at the 2014 SHOT Show and formally launched it the following year. The Curve was a 380 pocket pistol with a frame that had been deliberately bent to follow the shape of a human hip. The idea was sound. Handguns are flat, straight tools carried against a body that is neither. So Taurus curved the polymer frame, molded a belt clip into the side, built a light and a laser directly into the housing, and deleted the sights entirely. In their place sat a crosshair etched onto the back of the slide. On paper, the most concealable .380 ever made. On the range, shooters found the grip gave them 2 fingers at best. The magazine could work loose under recoil, and the pistol strongly preferred plain brass ammunition over hollow points. Reviewers admired the thinking and struggled with the shooting. Production ran from 2015 to 2018. What the Curve really became was a conversation piece. A counter guy would pull it out of the glass case to make a customer laugh, then set it back on the felt. That is the entire problem with novelty in this industry. A strange gun gets handled by everyone in the store and bought by almost nobody. The next pistol had the opposite problem. There was nothing strange about it at all. Number 11. The Beretta APX. In 2017, Beretta walked into the American striker-fired market with a genuinely competitive handgun. Low-bore axis, modular chassis, aggressive slide serrations that ran the full length of the slide, and a reputation among people who actually shot it as one of the flattest tracking service pistols of its generation. The problem was the calendar. Beretta had built the APX largely with the U.S. Army's modular handgun system competition in mind, and in January 2017 that contract went to the SIG P320 instead. Beretta lost the anchor customer the design had been aimed at. What was left was a very good polymer pistol, arriving into a case already stacked with Glocks and M&Ps, and brand new P320s, carrying the weight of an Army contract behind them, so the APX became the rebate gun. If you shopped for a handgun any time between 2018 and 2022, you saw one sitting there at a price that made no sense, then saw it again $100 lower with a mail-in offer stapled to the box. Beretta eventually retired the original A0 line around 2022 and replaced it with the improved A1 series. Ask any dealer and they will tell you the same thing. The APX was never a bad pistol. It was a good pistol that showed up to a party where every guest had already picked a partner. Number 10. The Walther CCP. This one is a genuinely interesting piece of engineering that got beaten by a single design decision. Walther released the CCP in 2014 with a gas-delayed blowback system built around a fixed barrel and a small piston tapping pressure from beneath the bore. The point was to slow the slide down, which meant lighter recoil, and a slide light enough for shooters with limited hand strength to rack easily. For a lot of new carriers, that combination was exactly right. Then they took it home and tried to clean it. Field stripping the original CCP required a small tool that shipped in the box, a very specific sequence, and in the honest assessment of a great many owners, a third hand. Forum threads about the takedown ran for years. Walther's own people later acknowledged that dealers, customers, and their sales team all kept raising the same complaint, and in 2018 the company answered with the M2, which strips without any tool at all. That fix created a second problem. The moment the M2 landed, every original CCP still in a display case became last year's version of a pistol whose entire reputation was that it was annoying to take apart. Dealers had to discount their way out of the M1 inventory while the M2 sat right beside it. And no amount of explaining the gas piston made that sale any easier. Number 9. The Kimber Solo. Kimber built its name on 1911s, and in 2011 it brought that same philosophy to a Micro 9. The Solo was small, flat, beautifully machined, and expensive. Aluminum frame, stainless slide, ambidextrous safety and magazine release, and the kind of finish work you expect from a company that charges a premium. Then the owner's manual arrived with a condition attached. Kimber specified that the Solo should be fed high-performance commercial ammunition with bullets weighing 124 grains or more. Not a suggestion buried in fine print. A requirement. Shooters who ran cheap 115 grain range ammo through it, which is what almost everyone practices with, ran into failures to feed and short-stroked slides. That created a very specific sales problem. A defensive pistol that needs premium ammunition to function is a pistol you cannot practice with affordably. And word of that spread through gun counters faster than any advertising could counter it. When a customer picked up a Solo, the guy behind the counter had a choice between staying quiet and being honest. And most chose honest. Kimber discontinued the Solo in 2017 and pushed the hammer-fired Micro 9 in its place. The Solo remains one of the best machined pistols of its era, and one of the hardest sells any Kimber dealer ever had. Number 8. The Bond Arms Bullpup 9. This is the one that hurts because the engineering behind it is legitimately clever. Arne Boberg founded Boberg Arms in 2009 and shipped his first pistol, the XR9S, in 2011. The concept borrowed directly from bullpup rifles. Instead of pushing a cartridge forward out of the magazine and up a feed ramp, the Boberg action reaches back, grabs the cartridge by the rim, pulls it rearward out of the magazine, then lifts it into the chamber. There is no feed ramp at all. The payoff is real. Moving the action rearward buys roughly an extra inch of barrel inside the same overall length. You get pocket pistol dimensions with velocity closer to a compact. The payoff was also expensive. The lowest priced Boberg pistols retailed above $1,000, and the XR9 carried an MSRP of $1,349 in a concealed carry market absolutely flooded with reliable options at half that. Bond Arms acquired the design in late 2016, improved it, and relaunched it in 2017 as the Bullpup 9 at $907, still too much. Dealers who stocked one watched customers pick it up, listen to the whole explanation of the reverse feed system, nod appreciatively, and then buy the $400 polymer gun on the next shelf. Brilliant engineering has never been a substitute for a price a customer will actually pay. Number 7. The SIG Sauer P250. In 2007, SIG introduced a pistol built around an idea that would eventually reshape the entire handgun industry. The serialized part of the P250 was not the frame or the slide. It was a small stainless steel fire control unit that dropped out and moved between grip modules, slides, and calibers. One purchase, many configurations. The industry now agrees that was the right idea. The market in 2007 did not. Two things worked against it. First, the P250 was double action only, with a long, deliberate trigger pull at a moment when American buyers were moving hard towards short striker-fired triggers. Second, the exchange kits that made modularity worthwhile cost real money on top of the pistol. Dealers noticed something worse. Counter staff started steering customers away from it, often without being able to explain precisely why beyond a vague sense that it was not what people wanted. SIG then solved its own problem by building the P320, which took the fire control unit concept and gave it a striker-fired trigger. In 2017, SIG discontinued the P250 line and distributors clearanced the remaining stock, with shops stacking them in cases at prices in the low 400s. The P250 was not a failure of engineering. It was a pistol that had the right idea and the wrong trigger, and it got buried by its own successor. Now for the one that gun shops still talk about. Number 6. The Remington R-51. Nothing on this list arrived with more goodwill and left with less. The original Remington Model 51 was designed by John Peterson around 1917. and it used a hesitation-locked action where the breech block briefly rides rearward with the slide before locking against the frame. Pedersen was one of the finest firearms designers America ever produced, and the Model 51 was regarded as one of the most comfortable pocket pistols of its era. Remington revived it for the 2014 SHOT Show as the R-51, chambered in 9mm with an aluminum frame, a grip safety, and a low-bore axis that promised very little muzzle rise. Introductory pricing sat under $400. The gun press was genuinely excited. Then production guns reached buyers, and the failures came in every category at once. Owners reported pistols that would not feed, would not go fully into battery, would not extract or eject cleanly, along with rear sights walking out of their dovetails, and most seriously, accounts of out-of-battery discharges. Writers who had tested pre-production samples at press events had already noticed problems on the firing line. By July 2014, Remington announced that customers could return their pistols and offered refunds, repairs, or replacement guns. Then the R-51 simply vanished. Number 5. The Colt All American 2000. By 1990, Colt was in trouble. Glock and Beretta were taking the police market. Colt was still building 1911s and revolvers, and the company badly needed a high-capacity polymer service pistol. So it turned to two of the biggest names in American firearms design, Eugene Stoner and C. Reed Knight, who delivered a rotating barrel, double-action only 9mm holding 15 rounds. Then Colt started changing it. Knight had specified a 6-pound trigger pull. Colt raised it to 12. The grip frame and barrel were lengthened, and the parts themselves were produced by an outside vendor. In 1993 came the safety recall, over concerns the pistol could discharge if dropped or struck hard. Colt ended production in 1994 with roughly 20,000 guns built. Number 4. The Remington RP9. Remington was not finished. In 2017, 3 years after the R-51, the company entered the full-size striker-fired market with the RP9. On paper, it was an aggressive play. 18 rounds plus 1 in the chamber, a genuinely beefy slide, interchangeable backstraps, a reversible magazine release, and a street price around $400. Undercutting the competition on capacity and price at the same time is a real strategy. The execution did not hold. Within weeks of guns reaching consumers, reviewers were posting malfunctions, mostly feeding problems in magazines that did not always seat or drop cleanly. Particular attention landed on the ambidextrous slide release, which had a flattened section in the middle that many suspected lacked the rigidity to work reliably under recoil. The trigger drew criticism too, and the aftermarket never really showed up, which for a modern polymer service pistol is close to fatal. And by then, customers had started treating the name itself as a warning label. Number 3. The Honor Defense Honor Guard. Honor Defense was founded in 2014 in Gainesville, Georgia by Gary Ramey, who had previously served as Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Beretta USA. The company built one product, a single-stack subcompact 9mm called the Honor Guard, priced in the $300 to $400 range, with fully ambidextrous controls that made it genuinely appealing to left-handed shooters. Early reviews were largely positive. In December 2017, videos began circulating showing the Honor Guard discharging when dropped on the rear of the slide. Roughly a month later, in January 2018, Honor Defense reversed course and announced a free voluntary upgrade for any owner who wanted it, framed as improved drop performance rather than a defect correction. The gun community had already made up its mind about the sequence of events. In 2019, a retired New York City police officer filed suit against the company, with his attorney arguing that a listing on a website did not meet the standard of care owed to customers. Honor Defense ceased operations. Number 2. The Caracal Model C. Caracal International was launched in Abu Dhabi in 2007, and by 2012 it was importing pistols into the United States through Caracal USA in Alabama. The Model C was a compact striker-fired 9mm with excellent ergonomics, and reviewers who handled it consistently praised how it sat in the hand. In March 2013, Caracal issued a recall on Model F and Model C pistols over a potential failure of the drop safety if the pistol were dropped on a hard surface with a live round chambered. Owners were told not to load or fire the guns. Replacement trigger units were promised, and the wait for parts ran into months. Then, in September 2013, came the announcement that has no real parallel in the modern handgun business. Caracal extended the recall to every Model C pistol ever produced, in every market worldwide, and stated that the safety issue could not be resolved through repair. There would be no fix and no swap for a corrected version of the same model. Owners were instructed to return the pistols permanently in exchange for a full refund or credit. Number 1. The Smith Wesson Sigma. In 1994, Smith Wesson introduced its first polymer-framed pistol. The Sigma was striker-fired, double-action only, with a hinged trigger safety and no external manual safety, chambered initially in .40 S&W. To a lot of eyes in 1994 and to a jury of gun counter regulars ever since, it looked and operated remarkably like a Glock. Glock thought so too. In July of 1994, Glock sued Smith Wesson, alleging patent infringement and trade dress violations. Then Glock did something that turned a legal dispute into a retail crisis. It sent an ultimatum to its own dealer network, giving them 15 days to decide whether they would carry Glock or Smith Wesson products, with the clear message that continuing to distribute Smith & Wesson would end their relationship with Glock. Dealers were forced to choose sides in a lawsuit they had no part in. The case dragged on for nearly 3 years before settling in 1997, with Smith & Wesson agreeing to remove a specific surface located below the sear and pay an undisclosed sum widely reported at several $1 million, while Glock granted a trade dress license. Smith & Wesson kept building Sigmas and eventually replaced the line with the improved SD series around 2010. But the Sigma never shook what the lawsuit attached to it. It became the pistol you bought when you could not afford the pistol it resembled.